The worst part about living in the Middle Ages isn't the hunger or the cold. It's realizing that even when you're surrounded by people, you can still be completely alone. I didn't understand that at first. I thought survival was the hardest thing, waking up every day not knowing if you'll eat, if you'll make it through winter, if your body will hold on just one more day. But I was wrong, because there's something far worse than that. Being invisible to the one person who should see you. In the days after everything started to change, I began to notice things I had ignored before, not in the village, not in the work, but in the silence between words. I tried to speak, to explain how I felt, how something inside me didn't feel right, how I was scared, how I didn't understand what was happening to my body or my future. But every time I opened my mouth, the answer I got was the same short words, empty responses or nothing at all. At first, I told myself it didn't matter, that maybe I was just tired, that maybe this is how people are in a world like this. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. One evening, there was a gathering in the village, people laughing, drinking, forgetting their problems, even if just for a moment. I didn't want to go. Something inside me felt heavy, like a quiet warning I couldn't explain. I asked for one simple thing, stay with me. Just that. But the answer I got was something I will never forget. I made a commitment. And somehow, that mattered more than I did. So I went anyway. Because the truth is, being ignored hurts, but being alone hurts more. I stood there, surrounded by people's voices everywhere. Laughter, music, but none of it reached me. I felt like I didn't belong in my own life. That's when I heard the news. Someone close was starting a new life, a future, a family, and I smiled, because that's what you're supposed to do. Even when your heart is breaking, because in that moment, I realized something I wasn't ready to accept. My future might not look the way I thought it would. Later that night, everything became too much. I walked away, found a quiet place away from the noise, away from everyone, and for the first time, I let myself feel it, the fear, the uncertainty, the weight of something I couldn't control. I wasn't afraid of the world. I was afraid of facing it alone. And when I tried one more time to reach out, to say something, anything, I was brushed aside like my pain was just an inconvenience. The next day was even harder. I had to go through something I didn't understand, something that left me weak, exhausted, barely able to stand. And I told myself, at least this time I won't be alone. But once again, I was wrong. Even then, even in that moment, the attention was somewhere else, other problems, other priorities, and I found myself doing something I never expected, helping someone else when I could barely help myself. That's when it finally hit me. I am alone. Not because there are no people around me, but because the one person I needed wasn't really there. When everything was over, when the day finally slowed down, I thought maybe things would change. Maybe now I would be seen, but nothing changed. The silence stayed. The distance stayed. Even the smallest things became difficult, walking, standing, thinking clearly, and still I had to do everything myself, because no one else would. That's when I asked myself a question I had been avoiding for a long time. Is this what my life is supposed to be? Fighting the world and feeling alone at the same time? Because surviving in the Middle Ages is already hard enough, but surviving it without being seen, without being heard, without being cared for, might be something else entirely. And for the first time, I didn't know what scared me more, the life I was living, or the feeling that I didn't matter in it. Asterisk. And that feeling, it didn't go away the next morning. If anything, it grew heavier. The sun rose the same way it always did, cold light creeping over the village, touching the same broken roofs, the same muddy paths, the same tired faces. Nothing had changed except me. I stepped outside and watched the others begin their day. Men heading to the fields, women carrying water, the same quiet rhythm repeating itself like it always had. For them, it was just another day. For me, something felt different, like I was no longer part of it, like I was watching my own life from the outside. I went to the fields again, my body still weak, every movement slower than before. The ground felt heavier, the air felt colder, even the simplest task felt like too much. But no one asked if I was all right. No one noticed. Or maybe they just didn't want to. At one point, I had to stop. I leaned on the tool in my hands, trying to catch my breath, trying to ignore the pain that hadn't fully left my body, and I remember thinking something I had never allowed myself to think before. What if I just stopped? What if I didn't keep going? Not because I couldn't, because I didn't see the point anymore. That thought scared me more than anything else, because it wasn't about the work. It wasn't about the pain. It was about the emptiness. The feeling that nothing I did mattered, that I could disappear from this place, and everything would continue exactly the same. The same fields, the same people. The same silence. Later that day, I saw Eliza again. She was near the well, just like before. For a moment, I thought about walking past her. Saying nothing, keeping everything inside, like I had been doing, but something in me couldn't do it. Not this time. So I stopped. She looked at me, and immediately I could tell she saw it. The exhaustion. The weight. The thing I had been trying to hide from everyone else. She didn't ask a lot of questions. She didn't push. She just stood there, quietly waiting, and somehow that was enough. I told her I was tired, that things didn't feel right, that I didn't understand what was happening in my life anymore. I didn't say everything, but I said enough. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't interrupted. I wasn't dismissed. I wasn't ignored. She listened. Really listened. And when I finished, she didn't try to fix anything. She didn't give advice. She didn't pretend everything would be okay. She just said something simple. You shouldn't have to go through this alone. Those words stayed with me because they felt true. More true than anything else I had heard in a long time. That evening, I didn't go back to the gathering. I didn't force myself to be somewhere I didn't belong. Instead, I walked away from the village, away from the noise, away from the life that suddenly felt too small for everything I was carrying. I walked until the village disappeared behind me. Until the only thing I could hear was the wind moving through the open land. And for the first time, I let myself think clearly, not about what I was supposed to do. Not about what others expected from me. But about what I actually wanted. Wanted more than this, more than surviving, more than being invisible. more than being someone who is only noticed when they are useful. Wanted a life where I mattered, where my voice meant something, where I didn't have to beg to be seen, and that's when I realized something that changed everything. Maybe. The biggest problem wasn't the world I lived in. Maybe it was the fact that I had accepted it for so long, accepted being ignored, accepted being small, accepted a life that never asked what I wanted. That realization was uncomfortable, but it was also freeing, because if I accepted it, maybe I could also change it. For the first time, the idea of becoming a knight didn't feel like a distant dream. It felt like a necessity, not because I wanted power, not because I wanted status, but because I couldn't stay where I was anymore. I couldn't keep living a life where I didn't exist in the eyes of the people around me. When I finally returned to the village, it looked the same as always. Nothing had changed, but I had, and sometimes that's where everything begins, because the moment you stop accepting the life you're given is the moment your real story starts.